Hey, Trails Collective. This is Ian,
And I'm Ellie.
and we're bringing you this week's March 24th weekly rundown. And for those just checking in, the hope of the rundown is really to bring together what's happening out in our regional coverage area, which is the Northeast plus the Virginias, as well as mention if there's any other appropriate maybe topics that we could tie in. With the state of things at the moment, whereas we would have liked to be talking about more races that are coming up this weekend, registrations opening, results from this past weekend. The reality is that with most of that off the table, as well as other gatherings such as big trail work opportunities and such, we're having to shift our gears a little bit and really just talk about where we're at.
So where I'm at is in the past week or basically just a week, I've gone from just realizing that my races are going to be canceled to canceling trips to those races. And then on last Monday, actually about a week ago, the cafe that I manage was actually shut down because it's inside of a fitness center. So I've been coping with that for the past week. But I'm not really disappointed about races anymore because, well, races may get canceled, but running will always be there. But being disappointed was kind of the natural shift for me, and I expect for everybody watching, because when you get disappointed, that really just means that you cared and that you were training for something. But we have to understand that right now that gathering together and also traveling is just a very irresponsible thing to do for our planet at large. So I still condone people running, but I don't condone people getting together and staging their own races or still running the course anyway. That's just not really smart right now. And also, there will be other races. So you can look forward to that, but then also give yourself time right now to, if you want to train, keep training, keep doing it. But if you want to relax and not go off a training plan, it's a great time for that too, because there's really no wrong way to run right now. And we all love running, so we might as well keep doing it. In my experience in the past couple weeks, it's been just losing the order that I have in my life that running and then also my job brings to the structure of my day. And it also getting new information in the news every hour or so, which is how it's been coming at us, is very distable. It's not very stable for me. So it took me a couple days of shell shock and just getting used to that. But now running has sort of become therapy almost. It helps bring structure to my day. I really look forward to it. So that's what running is for me right now. I don't have any training plans. I'm not even keeping my training journal right now. I'm just sort of doing what feels good. And that's just kind of what's been helping me cope with the situation. How about you, Ian? How are things for you?
On my end, it's been really day to day, like most people. I think the changes are coming so quick that it's really a day-to-day more than just week-to-week basis. So for me, I've got three daughters. So my wife and I are back to splitting the time. She's a mandatory healthcare worker, so she's got to go in. Her job's pretty stressful at the moment. And she also supervises some Ithaca College students, so she's trying to figure out the distal learning angle. But we're back to flipping our schedules as what we did when our older two girls were younger. And just the stress of trying to figure it all out. We're just starting to get some of the academic resources in for them at home, but haven't had really the time to really plug into it. I'm trying to find ways to really at least be present, engage their emotion, make sure they're dealing okay, and just really just try to be present in as much as I can, which I'm sometimes not very good at. So I think this past week, I think I mentioned it last week, I was starting to take my middle daughter to the skate park a lot. Took a pretty hard hit. I don't drop in like I used to when I was younger. Not that I was good then, but I hammered my knee taking a pretty hard fall. So I'm not able to run at the moment. And then work for me is, it's the running world. So I have a run specialty shop where we're filming in at the moment. And it's been really stressful this past week, the ups and downs, the regulation changes. We had our last day open to customers yesterday before the New York guidelines of mandatory closure just set in. Thankfully, we had a really incredible day of community support yesterday, turning out to support us in the shop. Most of us, or a lot of us, I guess, are experiencing some pretty going into some hard times, and I imagine it's about to get harder in the next 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. And I think a lot of the stress is just the unknown. So we had a lot of support to take us into that area to try to at least get us through the next chunk of fixed expenses. So for all of you that tuned in, for all of you that supported the shop yesterday and are going to continue to support it while we're closed, I can't thank you enough. It was amazing. So I'm going to continue to figure out day to day. The event company, I'm trying to spin as much as I can. We were dealing with the breakneck point, one of my first race of the season that we put on, cancellation, dealing with just the logistics of it. Thankfully, I'm in a position where I still can, I think I have a little bit more flexibility than some. So I've had 3 options where entrants can push back to next year. They can actually roll back to our pushback date, which is September. They can roll it into next year, which is May, or they can just get an outright refund. And we'll talk about, I guess, that concept a little bit later, but dealing with that, and then it's still to be seen. The next race that I'll put on is supposed to be the Cayuga Trails 50s, May 30th. Technically, we're still a go. I had a good conversation with the parks this past week, but it's totally unknown. We don't know where things are going. And my largest race after that was the Ithaca Half Marathon, which we've had about 1,200 runners. That's supposed to be June 13th. And right now, with the city pretty much shut down and with a skeleton crew, I can't really get an answer and even push back dates. So we're trying to figure that all out. So day to day, so all of you who are in the same boat day to day, for any other run specialty shop directors out there, race directors out there, I totally feel you at the moment. Yeah, and here we go together. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
So moving into regional podcasts and YouTube videos that have come out, I think that in this time that we're all sort of paused, I think especially on a bunch of different channels, there are a lot of YouTube content and podcasts coming out, which is really awesome because we all need things to do when we're socially isolated. The Connecticut Trail Ultra podcast just put out their social distance challenge episode. And what I get from their website is that they must have a Strava group, and basically you're supposed to tag them and post your results in their Strava group, and then people randomly throughout, they'll choose people and they'll contact you and send you some type of an award, which seems pretty cool. But everything needs to be done solo, and it's just kind of a great way to still be able to connect with each other and also have a little bit of a goal or a training goal just to get outside. So I think that's pretty cool. Hamstrings and Heartstrings, that's the podcast that my friend Chris and I, who also has another podcast called Running Inside Out, we actually put out 2 episodes this past week. The reason we put out 2 and we haven't had one since January 10th is because Chris and I recorded right before I went to the Olympic trials in Atlanta, and then the next day his computer and podcast equipment got stolen. So that really put a little bit of a damper on things. But then just this past Thursday we recorded again, and so we put out 2 episodes basically back to back, which are very interesting to listen to because before I went to the trials none of this applied, and then it didn't apply yet. And then the next episode is a lot of my stress, and it was kind of the height of when I was feeling emotionally very taxed with the whole situation. So they're two good episodes to listen to, just to understand the escalation that happened extremely quickly. Life is Trail Running. I didn't link to this. This actually came out a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to link to this last week. They put out a YouTube video that was just the first signs of spring 2020. It's just a really pretty video of them running around and talking, and so it's really great. Yeah.
So moving into some, and if any of you, again, as we get into this, our hope is that this will be somewhat useful and our audience base will increase. And the real hope there is to have more of you sending us tips and plugging in. We're really trying to get our rhythm going here. Some of these we may miss, and I apologize if you send us a message and we don't get it. We will get our rhythm, but keep sending us updates because we'd like to let people know what's going on in your community. So here's where we talk about what events are potentially coming up. and so the format is a little different because there's not really any events coming up. One thing to note, one useful piece is iRunFar's COVID-19 race update spreadsheet. So that's something that they started working on, I think, a week or so ago. It covers races that were in the window of March 18th to April 30th. And RDs or individuals can send updates to COVID-19 race updates at iRunFar.com. And they'll try to have a master calendar reflecting what events have been canceled, which have been pushed back, and hopefully it'll be pretty comprehensive. So Brian and the whole crew on the back end there on iRunFar, thank you for taking on that beast. Hopefully it'll be a pretty great resource.
Another one is called the Quarantine Backyard Ultra. So it's another virtual type race, and there are two ways that you can participate. So it's a self-isolation or quarantine streamed live on YouTube. And so basically on April 4th, starting at 9 a.m. for us, you'll do it either on your home treadmill or on a routed course of 4.1 miles, and it's kind of in the style of a Laz big backyard ultra, in that every hour you'll run 4.1 miles, and then you, for the rest of the however long that takes you, for the rest of the hour you can relax, eat, go to the bathroom. But the format is very interesting in that you will live stream it on Zoom, and so there are all these instructions on the website, so we'll link to that down below. And they even help you set up with Zoom or set up with anything, and basically you just need to make sure that every lap you get on camera so that they know that you participated in the lap. And it's kind of a way to get everybody all together, and and every hour it'll start until the last person is standing. And so I think it's a really cool challenge, and that way everybody can participate. And so again, there are a lot of instructions, but it sounds really awesome when you read all the instructions, and so we'll link to that down below.
Of the other events of note coming together, which would be it's the TrailsRoc Save Our Shops Virtual 19 Miler. Also a TrailsRoc event, but also with Sheila and Eric with Trail Methods segueing in there. And then also another friend, Laura Reckerth, who works for Catprint and does, she's runner for Mountain Peak Fitness Red Newt Racing Team and just an adventurer on her own and graphic designer. If you have any print needs, for sure, let us know. Or graphic design needs, Laura is great. But we'll expand this concept a little bit, and I guess I'll tie her in just a second. But what they're doing from April 3rd to the 5th, somebody can go out and run 19 miles, 19K, or I think it was like 1.9 miles. So playing on the the COVID-19 number there. It's a virtual run to raise money. In this area, for them, it's the Rochester area. And proceeds will be split between Rochester Running Company, Medved, Running and Walking Outfitters, and Feet Rochester. There's no cap to it, and the shops can do what they want with the money that's raised. And so and the results for anybody who wants to do it, check in with the TrailsRoc website, but results are due by 9 p.m. on April 5th. So get out there and run 19K or 1.9 miles. And donate to good causes, which are the Run Specialty stores, which for sure need our help. And so on that concept, in mentioning Laura and Eric have both reached out to me this past week after I posted the video on the status of just our shop here in Ithaca, and really facing really hard times like most people are at the moment, a real big unknown, pretty scary. And I still don't honestly know whether we'll get through this window or not. We're a really small shop. We've been just making ends meet for a long time now, and it's not really getting any easier. So going into a period like this is really scary. So they had reached out just wondering whether we could use their concept and do a virtual race here that would raise money for the Finger Lakes Running Company here in Ithaca. And then what I was wondering was whether they'd be up for just expanding on that concept. So anybody out there, if you've got a run specialty, and it doesn't have to be a run specialty shop, but in this case, a run specialty shop that you feel like is really does a great job in your community, is a great community resource, a hub that you value, that you want to see stay there, chances are they really need your help like a lot of entities. So if you could let us know maybe what that shop would be, and if you're willing to maybe set up a virtual race, Eric may be able to help a little bit with the website. Laura can maybe help with some of the graphics work, and maybe we can really expand this concept. So let us know, and we can, if you want to reach out or connect us with your shop, or if you want us to do that legwork, we can check it out. But reach out and let us know, and we can look into that and see whether we can get that going.
iRunFar has started a program called Operation Inspiration, and on April 4th they're having their own virtual race, and their community goal for their fundraising for the World Health Organization, 50% is going to go to that, and then the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund, and the other 50% is going to go to support iRunFar. It's a donation base, and the concept is you're just going to work out for 60 minutes on April 4th, and anything you want to donate is wonderful. And so they're trying to get people to, again, socially distance themselves, work out in isolation, but also come together towards a common goal. And so they're trying to, so you can sign up for the race at the iRunFar store. And so that's,
Cool. And we'll maybe tie in a couple articles of note that are out this week.
So AJW wrote again for iRunFar in support of the race director in crisis. After all the race started getting canceled, I also was unintelligent in this matter, and I had the thought like, well, I hope they let me defer, or I hope I get a refund, because it can be a lot of money, especially with traveling, and we understand that. However, in this time, race directors are basically, before the race, all the money is kind of spent, and a lot of times it is, some money comes out of their own pocket, and they're spending things on volunteers, on race swag, which we all know everybody loves, on food, on park regulations. So a lot of the money before the racers even get there has already been spent. And so sometimes the race directors are just meeting the bare minimum of, and they're not even making any money from the event. So a couple articles that have come out that I think a lot of runners should read before they start complaining or even start trying to sue race directors for their money back is just to understand that, like, you did sign a waiver and that all the money is kind of spent already, and Ian will know more.
Yeah, so that was AJW's, Andy Jones Wilkins, for those who don't know him by the acronym there. And the second one is called A Very Worried Race Director, and that was also who we referenced, Eric Egan from Trail Methods. He puts on a wonderful event. I haven't run it yet, but nothing but wonderful things, and it's we're linked together with my Cayuga Trails, his Many on the Jenny, and then another one, Twisted Branch. But a wonderful event. Eric, a little bit more on top of it, I think, than I am in terms of how organized and ready to go he is, where he just really goes into, really, his expenses are really sunk, from park fees to porta-johns to mugs to shirts to stickers to you name it. I mean, he's ready to go. And so just something like pushing back, just for all you to know, it's not as easy as maybe some may think it would be. We really have certain time frames that we're allowed to run within parks, and parks fill up pretty quick. So if we don't have a staging area, obviously the event doesn't go, and staging areas are often booked a year in advance. So, and then we're really, most of us try to be pretty conscious of where we're falling in the calendar. So when I push Breakneck back, I wanted to be at least conscious of what other events are happening around me, and I'd rather, I guess, put myself out than putting somebody else out. It's going to be a pretty busy fall with other events pushing back, but I dropped my Breakneck right on top of one of my other events, which is Water Gap, just hoping that I'll be able to find another RD to take on Water Gap this year, and hopefully we will. But I would rather figure that out than dropping it a week or two before another event like Cat's Tail or something to that effect. So it's really challenging. So the amount of, I think, primal instinct or whatever it is that takes over with some people when these are canceled, and just the nature of some people to get really annoyed, upset, edgy, point of threatening lawsuits against events. Man, that's crazy. All I can say is, I don't know, be a little bit more understanding, know where we're coming from, and we're doing the best that we can to figure that out. So work with us there. But check out Very Worried Race Director from Eric Egan. Worthwhile read to at least be able to empathize from where some of us are coming from.
I just wanted to close us out touching on social distancing for runners. It seems like keeping 6 feet away, which is what the CDC recommends, should be pretty easy. However, I don't think runners really realize how far away 6 feet is. And my running buddy Amelia and I were talking about it yesterday, that if we were 6 feet away, either one of us would be in the road or behind each other. But as it was also pointed out to me by Amy Sproston on Twitter, that you're breathing into your friend who's behind you. So I think that even though running is so communal and it has brought me a lot of friends, it has brought us all together, right now it might just be the only responsible way we can do this is going alone. iRunFar again has made it a little bit easier, or given us a little bit of a encouragement in that direction with their Operation Inspirations Solo 7 Challenge. So starting today and going for the next 7 days, they're encouraging you just even 10 minutes, just work out alone, and you can sign up on their website, and just to encourage us to still get out there and move, but just do it alone, but you also have a community online that is supporting you. And I think right now it's just a sacrifice that we have to make. And who knows, you might find that the solace or gearing up your favorite podcast, it's not that bad running alone.
And so we'll, on that concept or thread, I'll close out this weekly rundown. I've reached out to some friends just to see whether they'd be willing to just record some video or audio clips of their thoughts in the moment. So maybe some thoughts from the trail. And I'm encouraging anybody out there, if you're willing to send in some clips of you doing the same, I would love to start compiling them, and we can add them on to maybe next week's rundown or find a space for them. So it doesn't have to be anything too formal, nothing too structured, no format really necessarily needed. It can be from your couch, but more preferably when you're out, just your thoughts in the moment. How you feel right now about everything that's going on, how it's changed your outlook on the season to come, stresses, things that you're taking heart in. Just let us know what those are, and we'd love to plug it. So we'll close out with a few clips, one from a friend, employee, and teammate Amelia Kaufman, one from Ellie, and then one from a teammate and good longtime friend, sports physiologist, Gunks runner, Pain Cave, all his entities, Jay Friedman. So check out the clips, and we will check in with you next week. Stay safe, have a great week, and thanks so much for tuning in.
You are on.
Hey everyone, my name is Amelia. I live in Ithaca, New York, where I do mostly trail running, mostly ultra distance trail running. Yeah, it's a crazy time, as we all know, and in the running community specifically, as we all know, races are canceled. For some people, I guess that might be very heartbreaking. For me, I don't know, it's not a huge deal that races are canceled. I was planning to do Boston Marathon, Breakneck Marathon. Those are both rescheduled to September. But my mindset around racing right now is I don't need to race right now. The races will come back. As Des Linden said in her most recent Instagram post, she said, the races will come back, but running never left. So I think right now is just a time to focus on running for fun, doing whatever you want in training. That's what I've been doing. We all have a little bit of extra time right now, and what better way to spend it than get outside for a solo run. Good thing I like to do that anyways.
Yeah.
So stay strong and stay healthy, and see you on the trails.
That's great.
Hi Ian and hi Trails Collective. This is Ellie, and I thought that the best way that I could really talk about my experience is kind of being out on a little bit of a trail. So I am at South Hill Recway, and my experience has really been up and down. My running has increased exponentially because I have a lot of time, which miles in the bank, but I'm not really thinking about competing or racing right now. I'm thinking about establishing a routine, maintaining my sanity. My experience, I have been unemployed from this pandemic. My place of work, College Town Bagels, the branch that I manage has rightfully been shut down, and so I've lost my job, and it's been a lot to deal with. And one way that running has changed for me is that rather than racing goals or training goals, I am running for therapy in some ways, and running because it makes me feel really good. And I don't have, it's just my mindset, my emotional like comfort right now has just been completely changed. It's like running has really become something that I need to just maintain some semblance of order and sanity. It gives me something to do. When I get stressed out because I can't reach the unemployment office or I don't have anything else, running sort of is making me feel like I'm doing something, because, you know, it's clearing my mind, it gets me outside, and even though we're not doing it together, it connects me with people, which even though virtually online, that does mean something. So running for me right now is mostly just logging miles, and I don't feel any motivation to do any workouts or train for anything right now. And I think the fire will come back. I know it will, but right now I just have other priorities, and so I will continue to run a lot, and that has been filling me up. But right now, racing to me is irresponsible, and the goals that I just don't really have any goals besides just run when I want to and however much I want. And this is so fresh and so new. All the changes just happened this past week, but my life completely turned upside down. So maybe I'll have some inclination to do a little bit of training, like structure, next week or in the coming weeks. But right now it's just logging the easy therapy miles that I need, and that's enough. And so I want to encourage everybody else to, whatever running means for you right now, that's okay, and to do it, because there are no races. If you want to train for something, do it, but if you just want to log easy miles and chill, do it. No goals is fine, and just remember that doesn't make you any less of a runner. And so that's my experience, and if that was rambly, it was rambly, but I'm a rambly person. That's why I'm part of this news show. So keep supporting your local businesses if you can. If you can't, keep trying the unemployment office, because that's what I'll be doing in between the miles. So keep smiling, and I know I will too. And have a good one. Bye, guys.
Hey guys, this is Jay Friedman. Just doing my social distancing out in the beautiful Shawangunk. This is a tough time for everyone, obviously, but we are, gonna get through eventually. I think it's important that we all try and get out every day, or as close to every day as we can. Just get out and enjoy being outside, and I'm using a lot of this time when I'm not around my family, and not at work, to just practice a little bit of mindfulness, which is not something that kind of comes easily to me. So being a little bit more mindful when I can, trying to practice gratitude that I'm able to still get out and enjoy being out in nature and the trails. And the race goals are gonna have to go away for a little while, but that's okay. Right now, for me, doesn't even feel like training. It's just part of the day, just part of getting out, and the part of the day that I'm really looking forward to a lot most days. So if we can focus on that, and it's hard to let go of the kind of race goals that we were focused on all winter, but there'll be other races, there'll be other times, and you know, find an FKT or find a new trail, or learn to love your treadmill or whatever. There's nothing wrong with the treadmill either. All right, stay safe. Talk to you guys soon.